Alright everybody, welcome to the next Campfire Stories. And today we're going to be talking about the exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Now, I'm in a hurry, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to set this up, and I wanted to get it out before Halloween, so no cutting firewood, none of that. I had plenty cut up from last times I've been here anyhow. So for coffee, we're cheating. We're using a couple of Starbucks double shot energy coffees. This is vanilla. Even though I could go for a hot coffee right now. It's like 40 degrees out here. Which is like 2 degrees Celsius or something like that. But, alright, let's get into the story. Alright, now, Anneliese Michel was born September 21st, 1952. To Joseph and Anna Michel, and she was born in Liebefling, Bavaria, West Germany. Sorry if I murdered that. I don't speak German. But her family was extremely Catholic. Like, they believed in the most extreme versions of Catholicism, being the idea of self-sacrifice to help save others and stuff like that. They attended mass twice a week. They were extremely Catholic. Now, when Anneliese was 16 years old, while she was at school, she had what was considered her first seizure, and the staff and classmates and stuff like that said it seemed like she was in a trance, and Anneliese herself said she didn't remember any of that. And then about a year later, she had a second seizure in the middle of the night, and again, everybody said it was like she was in a trance-like state. She ended up wetting the bed. She was shaking profusely, having convulsions, and again, she said she didn't remember any of this, but her family members witnessed all of this. Now, after the second seizure, her parents decided they better get some help, so they took her to a psychiatric hospital, and while she was there, she had a third seizure. And her neurologist, Dr. Siegfried Luthi, had an EEG done on her, but the EEG showed nothing irregular. It was normal alpha waves. It was, and so they ended up doing a second seizure, which showed a little irregularity in her. She had alpha with a little bit of theta and delta waves in there, but nothing pathological. Now, while Anneliese was at the psychiatric hospital, they placed her on a multitude of different medications, including Olept, and but nothing seemed to be helping. Actually, things just seemed to get worse, way worse. She started having hallucinations where everybody's face she's seen would turn into a demon-type face, and it would tell her things like she was damned and she was gonna rot in hell. And obviously this terrified Anneliese a great deal. So for 5 years, she continued to take these they would give her all kinds of different medications, and nothing seemed to help. For 5 years they went on like this, and her condition just seemed to worsen and worsen. And oddly enough, she seemed to grow this weird intolerance to Christian type artifacts like crosses or crucifixes, if you want to call it that. But she couldn't stand to be around these artifacts. And so as time went on, her family, and the community all began to believe that Anneliese must be possessed. So her family started reaching out to the Catholic Church and were trying to get an exorcism done on her. But every priest they brought her to would deny it. They wouldn't even take it up with the bishop. They just suggested she stay on her meds. And so they kept changing her meds and putting her on all kinds of different drugs. And things just kept getting worse. They even put her on a drug called, I'm going to murder this, Tegretol. But it's an anti-seizure and a mood stabilizer drug, and it still didn't help. It's one of the strongest drugs they had at the time. And she just kept getting worse, and she started doing things like hurting herself. She started drinking her own urine. She would crawl to the corner of rooms and eat spiders. She would growl at people. She was doing like she would do 400 squats a day. It was just nuts. I couldn't imagine being around her. And she would start lashing out at her friends and family. It was getting hard for them to come. She would throw stuff at them. And yeah, they were running out of options, and they were running out of options quickly. But eventually they found a priest named Ernst Alt. And after meeting her and hearing the stories and just seeing her firsthand, he became convinced that she was possessed. So he petitioned a bishop by the name of Joseph Stengel. And Joseph Stengel, after seeing the petition and hearing what was going on, approved to have an exorcism done. And he appointed a priest by the name of Father Arnold Renz to do these exorcisms. So in 1975, on September 24th, the first exorcism was done. And they would continue to do exorcisms for the next 10 months, totaling up to 67 exorcisms, some of them lasting up to 4 hours. But at first, the exorcism seemed to work. Anneliese was able to go back to school. She was able to start leading a somewhat normal life. So at first the exorcism seems like they were working when all the medical stuff wasn't. But unfortunately, that would soon change. So suddenly, during these exorcisms, she took a turn for the worse. It seemed like it had come back and it was worse than it ever had been before. She started dropping to her knees, getting in a praying position, and then standing back up over and over again. Even when her knees and the tendons in her knee, the bones in her knees and the tendons in her knees were broken and torn, she just kept doing it. It was like she couldn't even feel the pain. And she would just drop to her knees, stand up. Drop to her knees in a praying position and stand up. And also during these exorcisms, she claimed she was possessed by 6 spirits. And the spirits named themselves. And the spirits claimed their names were Cain, Judas Iscariot, Adolf Hitler, Nero, Fleischmann, and Lucifer himself. Now, I'm gonna play the audio because they recorded audio of these exorcisms, and they got each one of these voices on tape, and I'm going to play each one of them for you right now. So again, viewer discretion is advised. And here we go.
Ja, ich will auch für die anderen leiden, damit die nicht in die Hölle kommen und so. Aber dass das dann so schlimm ist und so grausam und so furchtbar, nee. Das denkt man leiden, das ist so leicht Sache, aber wenn es dann wirklich schlimm wird, da will man überhaupt nicht mehr, da will mein Kind schlimm.
First voice, Cain. Second voice, Judas Iscariot.
Die müssen in eigenen Seminaren ausgebildet werden, die dürfen nicht auf die anderen Universitäten. Kapiert?
Ist da sonst noch etwas zu sagen?
Oh, Waldes,
Weil der Teufel größere Macht.
Third voice, Adolf Hitler.
Jeklötze. Nein, Jeklötze. Er war Jeklötze. Oh, so der will auch nicht. Oh, ich geh auch nicht. Oh.
Sind wir schon 3?
Wie. Was ist so der Scheiße?
Fourth voice, Nero.
Wo gibt's nur da oben?
Ruhe gibt's nur dort, wo die Liebe ist.
Ja, bei uns gibt's nur ja nun.
Der Hass.
Ja.
Wo der Hass ist, da gibt's keine Ruhe.
Nein. Und für uns gibt's nie Ruhe. Nie. Ewigkeit.
Fifth voice, Fleischmann. And finally, the sixth voice, Lucifer.
Im Namen aller seligen Jungfrau, im Namen Jesu, befehle ich dir auszubauen. Im Namen des dreifaltigen Geistes befehle ich dir auszufahren und nie.
Oh, excuse me. Not sorry, s'mores are delicious. Now, unfortunately, Anneliese would never get better. She would end up passing away. on July 1st, 1976. She quit eating, quit drinking, and she said that the spirits would not allow her to. She did not look the healthiest when she passed either. They're hard pictures to look at. Now, obviously, this story became major news. Everybody heard this story. It was all over Germany. And so, Father Ernst Alt and Father Arnold Brenz, and both parents ended up getting arrested. I'm not going to go through the whole court thing. That's a whole nother thing. If you want to look up the court, go ahead. But according to the court case, they were found guilty of the priests were found guilty of manslaughter. They were sentenced to 6 months in prison. But that was later suspended, and they ended up getting 3 years of probation. And the parents were found guilty as well, but they didn't get a sentence at all. It was declared that they had suffered enough. So, question is, what do I believe? What do you believe? Was Anneliese Michel possessed? Or does she have some weird version of epilepsy? Now, again, everybody knows I'm a Christian man. And I believe the Bible. And the Bible talks about possession a lot. Jesus had to deal with it a lot. He had to cast demons out of people all the time. And so did his disciples. And do I believe in exorcism? In a sort. I don't believe in the Catholic version of exorcisms. They have a lot of ritual type deals in their exorcisms. But, you know, and I also don't believe completely believe in the evangelical, you know, where they go around and just slap people in the head and say, demons come out, and the demons come out. I mean, it does work that way sometimes in the Bible, but there's reasons why. But let's not forget what Jesus said himself in Mark 9 verse 29. In Mark 9 verse 29, this is Mark 9 verse 29. The idea is the disciples and Jesus have been traveling around casting demons out, and the disciples themselves were given powers to cast the demons out, and they were able to just cast most demons out, going, you know, in the name of Jesus, I cast you out. But they reached this one and they could not do it. Not any of them could cast him out, and Jesus finally came along and got the demon out of this person. And the disciples came to him and they asked him, like, why weren't we able to cast him out? And Jesus said to them in Mark 9 verse 29, and he said unto them, this kind can come forth by anything but by prayer and fasting. So pretty much what Jesus was saying there is, you know, this spirit here can't come out just by, this one took a lot of prayer and fasting to get this demon to come out. It took a lot more work. So in that fate, yeah, I believe exorcism up to that point. So do I believe Anneliese Michel was possessed? Yes, I do. I absolutely believe she was possessed. I was going to go into this whole scientific thing about seizures and brain waves and temporal lobe versus grand mal versus epileptic. But this isn't a science theory paper. This is a scary story, so I left it all out. Trust me, I wrote like 3 pages on it, and then I threw it all away. But that's the story of the exorcism of Anneliese Michel. Hope you enjoyed it. If you are watching this on Rumble, you're getting a little extra right here. Alrighty. Again, thank you for watching. If you're watching this on Rumble, you got to watch that extra part. If not, if you're on YouTube, the link to my Rumble, the description will be down below. And if you have any other ideas for scary campfire stories you'd like me to tell, please let me know. Leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to give me a like if you're on YouTube. Give me a subscribe. If you're on Rumble, give me a subscribe and hit that Rumble button. You know that boxing glove down there? Give me a Rumble. And never forget, Genesis 9:3. Peace.